Welcome back. I'm Casey Schmidt, and I'm so grateful that you've come back for another January episode of Cup of Casey. Yes, I know we're in January, and I still have some holiday decor, actually all of my holiday decor, but it is COVID season as well, so I don't see my stuff going down anytime soon. We are keeping the holiday hygge spirit going strong in this household because we are needing any bits of joy to be coming. So we're gonna keep it going for right now, and hey, no judgment if yours is up as well. But I'm really excited to dive into New Year's and New Year's resolutions talk because that is all the rage right now. And I have some mixed feelings about it, and I'm so excited in this episode to share my ideas on how I think we can feel our best selves and try to get all of those goals that we have for ourselves and make those come true in a way that feels genuine and authentic and good. So I have some interesting statistics I want to start off with. Not surprising that we probably know that 60% of people make New Year's resolutions. That's a fair amount of people that have this desire, this inspiration to want to feel better, look better, make some kind of self-improvement in their life, which is fabulous. However, also not surprising that of the 60%, 8% of those actually follow through on their New Year's resolutions and find success with them. Okay, so that's actually higher than I would have anticipated, to be honest, based on my own personal experience of achievement in New Year's resolutions. But this is where it gets super interesting. According to the University of Scranton and a man named Steve Shapiro, the research shows that of the 8%, so of the very small 8% of people that actually follow through and find success in their New Year's resolution, they are no more happy. They are no better off, and they don't feel any happier than those who both didn't even set New Year's resolutions, or of the 92% that did set them, that didn't actually follow through and fell off the bandwagon and didn't meet their New Year's resolution goals. So it's a little disheartening for us, I will say, of those that are like gung-ho on their New Year's resolutions that are thinking, if 8% actually hit that, but yet they're not even as happy or happier than those that don't hit it or don't even make a goal for themselves. That's where it gets interesting and a bit surprising. I believe that I know, or I have my own philosophy. That's what I'll say. I have my own philosophy on why I think this is the case. Now, I did not read any further into those statistics, but knowing what I've experienced and went through and my own reference of this, I'm so excited to share some takeaways on New Year's resolutions and why I believe that to be so alarming. First, I want to start by breaking up with New Year's resolutions. And I apologize if some of you are like, really strong into no sugar and this and that and all the things, and you're going strong. I am cheering you on. I am rooting for you, okay? I am hoping you are over the 8%, and I hope that what I have to share today will help you to not only be successful, but also be happier on the other side. But if you're like me, and you don't even do New Year's resolutions anymore because you are tired of feeling defeated and you are tired of feeling lousy about yourself, that you fell off some kind of wagon and got rolled over and dragged out the back, I totally feel you, and I am you. And that was me for many, many years of my life, thinking that for some reason we could only have goals and dreams for ourselves on January 1st. And by January 4th, after you had a glass of wine, you decided your body was perfect and all things were great in the world, and you no longer needed that New Year's resolution. If that is you, I have also been that. And so I am inviting you in this episode to break up with New Year's resolutions. And I'm not going to leave you hanging, though. I'm going to share with you what I want you to replace that with. So I'm super excited to get into that, and I'm really grateful that you're here with me back in my home. So I kind of just got done bashing New Year's resolutions. And once again, if you're going strong on yours, I am supporting and cheering you on. But I do think it is time, with all that we know and how they have continued to make us feel really badly about ourselves, I think it is time to break up with resolutions and break up with diet noise and all of that and just fall into something new. And so I want to share with you the 4 ways to fall in love with yourself as you are right now. And I believe that that can really help you to achieve everything and more that you are looking for. So the first one is it's self-talk. It's how you talk to yourself. And this is so incredibly powerful. It is really like the foundation of everything is how we talk to ourselves. And our bodies are always listening. They are truly always listening to what we're saying and thinking about ourselves. And believe it or not, like really what you put out into the world, what you say out into the world, you will absolutely find ways to support that, to make that true. So if you're saying very unkind things about yourself and hurtful things and painful things, you are then going to be looking for ways to support that as facts and as truths, which is so, so upsetting and going to lead us to such a destructive place, right? And so I know that it can feel really uncomfortable, especially in the beginning, but that is why I just encourage you to practice. Practice small. I want to share some of the ways that we do, how we've done this in our house, but I think that first of all, if it feels uncomfortable and you feel that you absolutely cannot practice positive self-talk with yourself, I need you to remember that there is always help, that whether it's a coach or a therapist or a counselor, you absolutely can and should reach out to someone that can help you in this. So I want to put that out there. But for those of you that just need to get into the practice and kind of switch your mindset, let's face it, the world we live in, social media is always very happy to show us in all the ways that we aren't beautiful, that we aren't enough, that we just don't look like the standard image of beauty, whatever it might be. And so you really have to quiet that down and turn off that noise and tune into saying wonderful, kind, amazing things about yourself. You know, a couple examples that I've used in my house, and this is going to go over a lot better if you have younger kids. It's going to be hard to switch teenagers over to this now. But since my kids were younger, when we would drive to school, I would pull down the mirror, the flap, and have them look in the mirror. And I would help them, right? I would tell them, repeat after me, honey. I am amazing. I am enough. I am strong. I am kind. I'm a good listener. I'm a loyal friend. Like, repeat those things. Repeat those to your young children. Repeat those to yourself. Like, I really believe that our thoughts create our feelings and our feelings create our behaviors. And so if we want to change behaviors, we need to backtrack, and it needs to start with the thoughts that we have about ourselves and the words that we say about ourselves. It's so incredibly powerful. And so a couple other ways that now that my daughters are older, they have now written all over their mirrors different affirmations, and I have them on my mirror, and they have written the ones that kind of resonate and hit home that they need to hear more regularly. They've written them on their mirrors. So I guess if you have teens, that's a better place to start, right? Like maybe it's in a journal or a notebook or a phone case. I love the bathroom mirror because you visually see it every single day, and it's such a reminder of loving myself and talking kindly about myself and putting that out into the universe. And so with no, there's no shame here. There's no guilt that oh, well, I certainly have not been doing that. We've all been in those places. We need to cut ourselves a lot of slack. There's so many reminders and ways that we can feel badly about ourselves. And so this is me asking you to be actively, consciously seeking out these positive things about yourself. And I want to leave you with this last part about this. There is no better way to teach our children to love and accept their body for the way it is than us modeling that we love and accept our body the way it is. And so I think that's so incredibly powerful. And I don't know a mom that doesn't want their children to feel good about themselves and feel confident in their body and know that they're beautiful. And so we always say such wonderful, kind things to our children, right? And to other people. But how are we talking about ourselves? And so that's one indicator too, like the thoughts and the things that you say to yourself. Would you say those to your children? Would you say those to your best friends? Would you say those to anybody else? A lot of times we wouldn't. So we need to start with how we talk to ourselves, and then we can model that to all the people around us, that we care and honor and love ourselves, and we just have to start. It's just a practice. So I invite you to start that practice. And I want to share with you that we're going to show 2 adorable little videos of the affirmations, because my little niece Love, who is as cute as can be and has just so much energy and just a sweet little soul. So we had her over for a week, and this is kind of a lot to share, but one of the stories was, we're not a very modest home in this house. And so since my girls were babies, every time we would get in the shower or I would be bathing them or anything, I would have them look in the mirror, buck naked, and I would say, I'm beautiful. And I modeled that myself. And I started by just doing that to myself. But instantly, kids pick up off of us, right? And they feed off of us. And so without even asking my daughters to do that, they started that. They just started when they were young, looking in the mirror naked, getting into anything, saying, I'm beautiful, when they walk by the mirror. And so my niece Love was staying with us. This was last year for a week. And she just picked up on all of the positive self-talk. And I love this little video that captures it, that's how easy it can start with that. And it can feel awkward in the beginning, and it can feel hard and uncomfortable. And that's okay. That's okay. Just let it be hard and uncomfortable and say it anyways. And practice looking for the good things to say about yourself and saying them as often as you can.
Love, what do we say when we're in the mirror?
I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. All day long.
Who's beautiful?
Me, because I'm amazing.
Okay, so I don't think there could be a cuter way to show you how adorable and how positive affirmations can look and feel. And I know that us grown adult women are maybe not going to look like that, but they're still equally as powerful. So I just so encourage you to dive in deep with some positive affirmations. And I'm going to link to my website some templates that I like to use and just some to get you started. So if you don't know where to start, you can definitely come on over, message me, and we'll make sure that we get them to you. So the second part of falling in love with yourself, okay, because that's what this is all about, is ways to fall in love with yourself. And that is awareness. Awareness without judgment. So awareness starts by understanding what is the story we tell ourselves about us and our relationship to food and body and weight and size. What is the story that we have been telling ourselves about that? And a lot of times it stems from our parents. A lot of times we watched our parents shame and berate themselves and rip themselves down based on how they looked or felt or what they ate that day. And we watched them use this very unhealthy coping mechanism to be hard on themselves. We watched them do that, and then we adopted it, right? And so it's recognizing without any judgment on anybody's part, right? I know that me personally, my mom, I have the greatest, most nurturing, loving mom ever. But all I ever watched her do was drastically try to change her body and berate herself in the process, never loving her body for what it was and what it had to offer. And so I know that I just took that as what we're supposed to do, be really hard and judge our body harshly. And so it's without judgment, because I know that she wasn't judging my body, she was judging hers. And so sometimes we can just watch it generation after generation of how people look at themselves and how people talk to themselves, and we adopt that as our own. So the first part of awareness is looking at that story that we've told ourselves. The second part of awareness without judgment is looking at in our life how many, to pretty much all of us, use food, shopping, social media, alcohol. We use these things to numb out of life because we need to, because life is really, really hard. And so this is without judgment, because it 100% makes sense why we do this. And there needs to be no judgment, because you can't help to heal or make progress if you're judging the coping mechanism that you're using, right? And so what it looks like is not even changing any of the behaviors, but having an awareness of, I feel really stressed from work right now. I feel really overwhelmed with the task list that I have to get done. And so I am absolutely craving some peanut butter, some cookies, some pizza, the drive-through. Maybe it's wine. Maybe it is, gambling, social media. Maybe it's just numbing out, scrolling through. It's recognizing and linking the two, that life feels really hard right now, and it feels painful and it feels uncomfortable, and I'm not sitting well with those feelings. So I want to feel something different. I want to feel something better. And that's 100% understandable. And we can't make any progress, right? We can't change behaviors until we understand why we have and do those behaviors, right? Without the awareness that they're going on. And I want to share with you in my life what that looks like many of the times. Here I am, a psychology of eating, health, and life coach, right? And I am still plenty guilty of doing this. So I will frequently be knee deep into the peanut butter, into something, when I come into my awareness and I realize, okay, I am 100% not hungry. I am not needing fuel. I am not needing this. But what I'm needing is to numb out from the fact that my house is in utter chaos, that there is so much to do on my plate. And so I am needing, even though it's temporarily, I am needing that temporary relief from it. And so, but we don't really always identify how temporary it is, right? And so when I bring the awareness that, okay, this is why I'm doing this, or I'm absolutely frustrated as heck at my husband or my children, right? Like they're driving me crazy. I am just going to take myself out of it, go over here and make myself better, right? And so we all know, sadly, right, in our realistic, like mindful brain, we know that that's not going to help with anything, right? It's not going to make the house in a better shape. It's not going to make the relationships in a better place. So it's very temporary. And so sometimes just having the awareness to connect that, oh, this is why I'm doing this. And instead of judging it, instead of having any shame or guilt around it, I have this grace for myself of like, oh, I know you're needing a little bit of help right now. Okay, so maybe you need to go in there and ask the kids and ask everybody to calm down and help you do something because you need to get this off your plate. But when I bring the awareness, I'm able to more quickly either one, eliminate the behavior, right? Or two, it shortens the duration of kind of like the binge cycle of whatever that might be. Because that switch has then been flipped on where I identify, okay, at the end of this, I'm actually going to just feel really bloated and uncomfortable, right? Or if you're shopping, you're just going to really collect some serious bills in this moment. Or if you're drinking, you're just going to have a serious hangover, right? So you start to connect, this is what I'm actually needing. I'm actually craving some peace. I'm craving a better connection with my spouse. I'm craving my work project to get done, right? It brings this awareness of why you were wanting to numb out in the first place. And so when you can have awareness without judgment, you can truly start to then heal and change some of those unwanted behaviors, which is so powerful. And like I said, nobody's perfect. We all do them. But they can be much shorter, and you can then realize that you are the one that has the power to change that, right? The stress and the triggers, we're still always going to have to live amongst those. But then we have the power to identify the awareness of what caused it and then what needs to be done. Okay, so hopefully that makes some sense and you can practice some of that awareness. Again, I can't stress enough, without the judgment aspect. All right, so I'll be so anxious to know how this hits with you and if this resonates with your heart, because I know it certainly does, and it's a common practice with those that I work with, and people need to hear it over and over again. So just be kind to yourself, be gentle, and grant yourself a lot of grace as you start to peel that back and look into it. But it's amazing how sometimes it can be so clear what we're actually needing from ourselves. So the third step to falling in love with yourself is having gratitude and an understanding that this is the one and only body that you have for your life. And that is so huge. It's kind of a game changer once you grasp what that means. And so I want to share a little personal story, and that is, for me, if you've ever watched anyone you love get sick, it kind of can hit home a little bit more, right? Because we have this gratitude for our body that in our day-to-day life we can somehow overlook and kind of miss that. And so for me, when I was a freshman in high school, well, actually, first it started the 8th grade year before that. I was graduating my 8th grade year, and my dad, who was 45 years old at the time, got sick with a very aggressive cancer. And so over the course of those 13 weeks, okay, across the summer, he got sicker and sicker. And this was my person. This was my man that was strong and protected us and kept us safe. And he was my go-to for everything. And he went from being completely healthy, 6-foot tall man, went to Bally's Total Fitness every day after work. And he got sick so quickly. And watching him living at home over the course of those 13 weeks kind of deteriorate, it changed me. I mean, of course, it changed me forever, right? It changed everything about my life. But the relationship it changed to my body was very impactful and monumental. And interestingly enough, just the year before, the summer before, I had struggled with a very severe eating disorder that landed me in the hospital with anorexia. And it was such a dark time in my life. It was such a hard time. And it really had taken me. And my mom was so, thankfully, so aware and so on it and got me the help that I needed. But it is not a quick fix, if anyone who has struggled with an eating disorder knows. And so that year was a lot of learning and a lot of healing. And so coming into the following summer, having my dad get sick and watching his body deteriorate very quickly right under my eyes, really connected the experience and all the thoughts and the feelings and the focus that I had put on my physical body. It all shifted and it all changed. And unfortunately, my dad passed away 13 weeks after being diagnosed on my first day of freshman year of high school in 1995. But that transformed my life in a million ways, as anyone who's went through anything like that knows. But the positive impact it had on my relationship with my body was that it transformed the way I felt and looked at my body forever, and it has. And so that is what set the tone of my life to be and do what I do now. But having this gratitude, this love and appreciation for my body has been huge. And I think when we can switch to my body is something so much more than how it looks in a pair of jean shorts and a swimsuit, which I will say I still don't like jean shorts, I'll be honest, but it's so much bigger. It has such a bigger impact, and it has such a freedom to let that go. And taking care of myself now, moving my body, feeding my body, fueling my body, it comes from a place of self-love and gratitude for this body, and not from a place of drastically trying to change it. And I think that is so powerful, because so many of us are just trying to conform our body and then stay in that spot and then lose weight and stay in that spot. And it's not about the bigger picture of being able to move our bodies and be free with our bodies. And I'm not even just talking about with healthy food and nutrients. I'm talking about with healthy thoughts and healthy people around us, right? We know people can be toxic. What we view can be toxic. And so it's cleaning up all of that area to be very protective on our body. And so I think that it's so important to get aware and to be grateful of the body that you have and model that. I want to share a really funny, silly story that I had a couple years ago. And it was Thanksgiving, getting ready to go to my Aunt Peg's house, who I love going to for Thanksgiving. And so we know as moms, right, we get all the kids all ready to go. And then the last thing we do, I had sweet potato casserole in the oven, everything was going, and I had like 30 seconds to go get dressed. Everything else was done. I was, of course, in my house robe. And so I run upstairs and I go to put on what I called, up to this point, my Thanksgiving Day skirt, okay? Because I had worn it every Thanksgiving, okay? And I only wear it on Thanksgiving because I don't know why. There's just not many places to wear skirts to. So I want to share it because this is it, all right? It's pretty cute, right? I mean, it feels special, which is why it's the Thanksgiving skirt. So I go upstairs, I run upstairs, and I'm putting it on, and wouldn't you know it, I mean, it just like dead stop, like on the hips. I mean, it wasn't even a tight fit. It was like a quick halt, like right here, mid-thigh. And so I literally was just about ready to have like the full-blown mommy tantrum. I mean, F-bombs. I was right there. And I noticed my youngest, Penelope, looking at me from the other side of my dressing area. And she was looking at me, and I had this quick moment to pull my stuff together. And I go, wow, all of this strength training is really working. And my legs must be growing with such good muscles. And she looked at me because she was like, wow, I did not know it was going to go that route. And she was like, yeah, Mom, wow, that doesn't fit at all. And it didn't. And so I shimmied it back off, and she kind of congratulated me on how strong my legs were. But it's just such a reminder that, like, this is my body. Like, my curves, my thighs that didn't fit in this skirt and still doesn't now, like, that's okay. And so I was so grateful to have her be in that moment with me to, like, yes, snap my perspective into loving and supporting my body and not going and starving myself, but having a gratitude for my body and just remembering that we can model that for our kids, and how important it is to remember that that is the mantra for us, is that our body is so much more than the physical on the outside. And being healthy does not mean looking a certain way. Healthy can look beautiful and can be healthy at any size. And I think that's so key. And it's not about our size. It's body, mind, and soul. It's all encompassing. So it's wanting to feed and nourish our body with the healthy thoughts, with the healthy people, with all of those things that make us feel our best self. But I encourage you to take the pressure off of the focus off of your physical body and remember that it is this entity and this wonderful life force that is keeping you moving, doing amazing things, that has been with you from the beginning. And my body is my body and yours is yours. And for the 1% of Victoria's Secret models, their body is theirs. And that is all good, right? We can all love our perfectly imperfect bodies. So for the fourth and final way to fall in love with yourself, I believe this is the missing link here. That going back to the beginning of the show, remember that 8% of people that actually meet or get successful, or whatever you want to say, their New Year's resolution, right? That have success with that, but yet are no happier than those that didn't have success with their resolutions, and or those that didn't even make resolutions. This step is, I believe, the missing component. And so that is why the fourth and final step to fall in love with yourself is to enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of falling in love with yourself and falling, like, the process. We need to enjoy the journey. I give the example of, we've all, maybe not, I have, and many women I know have hated themselves 10 pounds lighter. We have grin and bared it and lost 10 pounds, and it was painful, and we were hungry, and it was so not fun, right? And only to gain 25 pounds back later, right? And so I share that example from my own life because what I realize, and with people that I work with, what I realize is, if happiness, I think that all of our goals and our scenarios, right, we want to end in a happy, peaceful place, right? Where we feel satisfied and content. And if we don't have a journey that teaches us how to do that, if our path to getting there isn't filled with joy and love and grace and support and kindness, we won't feel that when we're 10 pounds lighter. And so I have to assume, without reading any more into it, my philosophy on those 8% would be that they used motivation and determination, and they grin and bared it and got through their New Year's resolution. But they didn't fall in love with the journey. They didn't enjoy the journey and make those lifestyle changes and have the affirmation set into place, and the self-talk and the awareness and the people and the positivity that support this journey. And, you know, we know there's never an arrived, right? Everybody wants to arrive. There's really no place to arrive. It's all a journey. And so that's why I think it's so critical to make sure that we fall in love with taking care of ourselves well. And so it's not about, I would love for you to take the pressure off of looking a different way or losing a certain amount of weight, and take that pressure off and just embrace the part of when you come from a place of self-love, you naturally start to make those baby steps that support a healing, healthy journey for yourself, right? It can so frequently start to, maybe it is weight loss, maybe it's a better relationship with someone, but it's like when you start to take off the pressure of, oh, I can't eat this or I can't do this, and you just come from this place of, I want to nourish myself really well with healthy foods that make me feel good, because I realize that when I eat this way, or when I drink too much, or when I do this, I feel really crummy. My body doesn't feel good. And so when we have that awareness and we are able to connect it, and then we bring in the step that we love and appreciate and have gratitude for our body, we naturally want to make healthier choices for ourselves. Not perfectly, but we start to make that progress. And then we have a journey that is supporting that progress, right? And so I want to skip and share my quote of the month here with you, because it's so key to this part of it. And so my quote for you for the month of January is from Mark David, who I did my Psychology of Eating certification with, and it is, "The journey always dictates the destination." And I share that quote with you because it's so timely right now in this spot where we're talking about the journey always dictates the destination. So if you've had a journey of self-hate and of pain and of uncomfortableness and grin and bear it, right? To struggle bust your way through, then you can't expect, if that's been your path, then of course the destination is not going to be a place of peace and happiness and love and support. So just, if I can leave you with this part of it, the journey always dictates the destination. And I believe that those 8%, I don't know, but my philosophy is that those 8% that felt no happier after meeting their New Year's resolutions, the journey dictates the destination. And what did their journey look like? Was it filled with love and support and kindness and grace for not being perfect along the path? Because I'm assuming happiness is always the end scenario. So we need to make sure that it is supported along the way. So I hope that you will remember those in your life, that the journey of falling in love with yourself, it starts with self-talk. It starts with saying kind things about yourself. Then we need to have awareness of what the story is we're telling ourselves and how we support that and the decisions we make along that route. And then we want to have gratitude for our one and only body that we have, taking the focus off of the physical and on the whole body, wanting to nurture it, wanting to love it. And then, of course, the last part being that we fall in love with the journey. And I truly believe when we stop shaming and hating and berating our bodies for everything we think they are not, that is when the true transformations can occur. When we stop doing that, when we stop hating on our bodies and we're open to loving them, that's when the real transformations happen. So I hope that you found this to be helpful. I would love to hear what your thoughts are and how this has impacted you and where you're at in your life story. But I hope that it brings some support, because these are little nuggets of my life story that I've learned along the way. And I love to help fill women up and share this with them to help you feel better and more in love with yourself. Okay, so excited to share my tips and tricks in the kitchen today, because talk about an all-time staple. What I'm showing off is no rocket science, but it is really kind of, I couldn't live without it. My family could not live without it. And I am doing something super simple for today, because let's face it, January is hard enough. So we are revamping the wrap, okay? I don't know how often you'd make wraps in your house, but I know in our house, we are making these many, many times a day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. So I am showing you 3 simple variations that can kind of curb any craving, but I wanna highlight why this is such a staple product in my life. And it is the organic, uncooked these roti wraps. And so they have 5 ingredients, 2 of the ingredients being water and salt. So this is about, I think, as fresh, whole ingredients that you can possibly get. And I know for myself and for my kids, anything that we're eating on a daily basis, regularly, I really feel good knowing that these have such good, clean ingredients because we're getting so many of them. I mean, they are my base for so many things. So that's the reason I love these. They can be found at Costco. I think many other grocery stores now have some kind of variation, but you know, it's a little disheartening when you go, and I love a couple of them, but there's so many wraps out there that have a crazy laundry list of ingredients. And so that's why I'm gonna prefer to pick these every time. Also, because we've been to Paris, we think we're fancy and we call them crepes when needed. So that's another word that we like to adopt over here. So it comes in a large package, and I want to give you just a couple tips so that if you live alone or you don't have a large family, this is about the size, okay, of how many are in here. So let's see. So there's 36 servings. Okay, that's a lot of wraps. In my house, we can do it pretty easily. But you get them in the refrigerated section, not the freezer section. So what's really nice, and I've done this before, is you can split them, and then I will put wax paper in between them and put them in the freezer and just pull out 7 at a time. 10 at a time. You could split it in 2 groups. You could put it in a Ziploc baggie and put it in the freezer. But I find that the wax paper keeps them separated enough so you can just grab what you need and put it in the fridge, and it like defrosts in like a day after you've been keeping it in the freezer. Now, we have no problem with my family of 4 to go through 36 wraps in a reasonable amount of time. I think the expiration date's like 2.5 weeks. So that's a little tidbit on keeping them fresh. Now, when you put them in, I love this, right? This is what makes me feel like a chef, even though it's really not hard. So you put the wrap in your saute pan. Oops, I'm going to grab one thing. So I always spray my saute pan, also found at Costco, with my avocado oil spray. So you'll spray the pan, it gives it just like this really nice crispy, and some people in my family like them more pliable and soft and doughy like a crepe. And some people like me like them a little bit more crispy. So you can make it however you want. It truly takes like 2 minutes on each side. If you put the lid on it, it pops up even faster. Flip it over, you're good to go. And now let's get into the options. So here we go. We're gonna start with maybe a breakfast option. So we do breakfast burritos all the time. Of course, we all know endless options. My go-to is some kale or spinach in my omelet with mushrooms and a little bit of cheese, maybe Parmesan or mozzarella. And there you go. I mean, I always say, I would buy this at a restaurant. I feel like every day I eat this same thing, and I'm like, I would buy this. I would spend money on this. So you could drizzle something on top of it if you want, but it's so easy and it takes no time at all. So that's a great option. A lunch option that I have frequently that I want to highlight is hummus is my base. I love these hummus packets. These are from Costco because I'll be honest, I used to buy all of the big flavored hummuses from different grocery stores, and nobody's eating the hummus but me, usually. And so that's why I love these individual packets, because they last a really long time. They don't get really disgusting. Nobody wants to guess how long the hummus has been in the refrigerator. That is not a fun game. So I use these frequently. So that's what I've put on this one. I've put some hummus and some peppers, some Parmesan cheese. I think the secret ingredient on just about everything is some balsamic. It brings this like great flavor and sweetness. So you can see I left it like an open style sandwich here, but of course you could put it back together, and then sometimes I even have like one of those presses, or I've even used my teapot, and you can kind of make it like a panini. So that's a great option, but for purposes of making sure, well, now it doesn't look so pretty, so we'll close it. So that's a wonderful lunch option or anytime. And now my third option to show you is super simple. This is what my kids have pretty much 99% of every morning. And that is a wrap, a breakfast wrap that I've used nut butter. I love the Trader Joe's almond butter, but we have every kind of peanut butter ever invented, I think we own. And I love them all. So I have yet to meet a peanut butter that I can't really enjoy. So on here I've got the almond butter. I enjoy using any kind of fruit or berries as like my jam. And so nectarines are good on there. Plums are good on there. I've done some fresh blueberries and bananas, and then I love, because it's warm, it will start to melt. But I do want to highlight a favorite treat that really goes on well. It's the organic maple butter from Trader Joe's. It's so good. It's kind of life-changing. So a little goes a long way, but it gives this amazing flavor because I'm not a jelly person, but I do like sweet. So I add a thin layer. You can barely see it because it's like the color of the wrap. And then I frequently will also make like another little burrito type style. And there you go. So just kind of revamping the wrap, reminding you that healthy does not have to be hard. I think that sometimes we all make the same things over and over again, and we just need some new, fresh ideas to keep it simple. So when I have this, I mean, in my house, I just know that I have endless options for all meals and snacks, and there's so many other different variations that you could take this, but these are just a couple sweet and savory ideas that I wanted to share with you today. So I want to share my tip for the month of January, and that is take off the extras, girls. There's so much on our plates right now and pretty much always. And so I want to invite you to take off the extras. And how about if instead of a to-do list, I would love to share what's working for me, and that is a what would make today great list. So instead of this idea of a to-do list, which we know is the never-ending list of things that we're supposed to do, we should do, and very few of those things actually, in my experience, get done, right? And it's just like this painful list. And so I'm hoping that we take off the extras by peeling back the onion and what really needs to get done. We are so frequently carrying everything, right? We've got relationship stuff, and we've got kids stuff, and professional, and family stuff, and then all the body stuff, and all of those things always coming at us, that our to-do list can just look like a crazy book of a lot of things you don't want to tackle. And so I love the idea of switching your perspective from a to-do list to a what would make today great list. And maybe what would make today great is getting a work project off of your plate. Maybe it would be finally conquering something that's been holding you up. Maybe it would be reading a book. Maybe it would be going for a walk with a friend, but something that at the end of the day, not only does it feel great, we know we love a good list. Not only would it feel great to check it off, but to know that it brought us some kind of joy, some kind of like, it was like a blessing to be able to participate in it, do it, accomplish it, and take it off. And that we're also being mindful of what our needs are, right? Putting stuff on what would make today great list. Like, what would make your day great? And really having you think about that. Yes, I'm sure there's a couple things that are going to have to stay on the list, but what would really make today feel like a good day? So I invite you to switch that perspective, because I know for me, I love myself a good list, but I was feeling pretty defeated from what my to-do list was starting to look like. And it was just such a chore and such a drag to feel like I never was accomplishing even half of it. And so I really tightened it up and thought, okay, what would make today a really great day to get this off? And so that focus change has helped tremendously. So I invite you to try it. I would love, as always, for you to please reach out and connect with me. Let me know any parts of this show that have hit home with you, that have connected, anything that you feel that you could add to it. I would love to hear your thoughts and how you're taking it. And any ideas for future ones, I want this to be a collaborative process. So I invite and welcome them all. But thank you for coming for a cup of Casey. I hope that you feel good, feel inspired, and want to go out and create a great day. So thanks so much. And until next time, sending you so much love and kindness and support your way. I know we all need it today, tomorrow, and always. So it is coming. I hope you feel it and receive it. Thanks so much. Make it a great day.